let's get into the news, y'all. Let's get into the news.
That's what the people came for.
That's what they came for. So we're going to talk COVID and get to some news. So we're going to start with some COVID news. Okay, so COVID vaccines roll out in disarray in U.S. and abroad. All 50 states are reporting shortages as administrative and healthcare systems struggle to distribute even the limited vaccine stocks that have been produced. The EU is now seeking to block exports of any vaccine from companies that have not fulfilled Europe's order first. EU officials have also that UK-bound vaccines are redirected to make up the shortfall on the continent. Biden has joined a World Health Organization-led program called COVAX, which has raised $2 billion to buy vaccines for poor countries. According to the New York Times, while more than 90 million people worldwide have been vaccinated, only 25 in all of sub-Saharan Africa, a region of about 1 billion people. Recent studies suggest that at least 4 vaccines that are effective at preventing infection with the original virus did not perform as well against the variant found in South Africa. The burden of supplying vaccines to low and middle income nations hangs heavily on a nonprofit group, which is COVAX, formed by a coalition of international organizations. Fox News Sunday, Senator Bill Cassidy on how the problem started with how the problem public schools right now and teachers unions not raging not a raging pandemic. Do you have that video? I'm ready for it.
$170 billion for schools. Now, we've already given schools 110% of what they usually receive from the federal government. Parochial schools have opened with a fraction of that money. Charter schools are opened. The real problem is public schools. That issue is not money. That issue is teachers' unions telling their teachers not to go to work. And putting $170 billion towards teachers' unions' priorities, it takes care of a Democratic constituency group, but it wastes our federal taxpayer dollars for something which is not the problem.
So the country recorded 17,584 cases during the week ending in January, a month earlier during the week ending in December 20th, more than 32,500 cases were reported. Data from the CDC shows that as of Saturday, more than 3.5 million vaccines have now been administered in long-term care facilities. Although 5% of the country's cases have occurred in long-term care facilities, deaths related to COVID-19 in these settings have accounted for about 36% of deaths from the virus in the country, according to the New York Times. And we also have this video on Bernie talking about it as well.
Is it a mistake for Democrats to consider abandoning bipartisanship negotiations so soon?
Well, Martha, the issue is not, bipartisanship or not. The issue is, are we going to address the incredible set of crises and the pain and the anxiety which is in this country? You know what? I don't care what anybody says. We have got to deal with this pandemic. We have got to make sure that we are producing the vaccines that we need and get those vaccines into the arms of people. We cannot have children in America going hungry, people being evicted, schools not open. We need to open our schools in a safe way. That's what we have to do. So the question is not bipartisanship. The question is addressing the unprecedented crises that we face right now. If Republicans want to work with us, they have better ideas on how to address those crises, that's great. But to be honest with you, I have not yet heard that.
Great
answer. Bernie definitely took it to where it needed to be. What do you guys think about that, starting with Mondale?
I'm just glad he didn't allow them, like, that stupid narrative setting that usually happens in media and Democrats fall for to happen. He literally shut it down. This ain't about no bipartisanship. It's about the expense of people's lives. And this idea, even going back to Cassidy's dumbass response on Fox talking about parochial schools and charter schools that open. Yeah, they're smaller and they don't take as many diverse kids as public schools. And by diversity, I'm talking about learning skills, learning levels. That is an absolutely disgusting and play that any reporter, any journalist should have checked him on, but I forgot it was Fox Noise, not news. So I'm not surprised. Also, people should know that majority of the people in the United States public schools are black and brown students, so they feel comfortable saying that because white people kids, white people that are voting for them aren't really sending their kids to public schools. So shame on these bastards for playing games with black and brown kids we do need more resources to school. First of all, what we give them is not enough. So saying that we gave them 110% of what they already get means nothing. You never say that about the military when you're giving them increase after increase after increase. So don't treat black kids and brown kids that way. It is disgusting, and it also shows how disconnected you are from reality, white man. But shout out to Bernie for flipping that.
Yeah.
I love that. I definitely love that. Marcus?
Republicans just learned how to say bipartisan last week.
I feel that. I definitely feel that.
I mean, where was bipartisanship throughout this whole COVID pandemic? I mean, they all of a sudden, like, Donald Trump's not the president, and all of a sudden they want to handle COVID, right? Like, let's not have a short-term memory. Just 6 months ago, they were trying to open everything back up. And I mean, even though they're trying to open it up now, they no mask protocol, like they were going ham. No one said anything about bipartisanship when we talked about S-hole countries. No one said bipartisanship when we were talking about immigration and building the wall. No one said bipartisanship when we talked about, like, giving billionaires tax incentives that really didn't help out American citizens. Where is this bipartisanship stuff coming from? It's like they lose power and all of a sudden we need to be bipartisan. I reject the whole notion, right? Like, Bernie just did an amazing job by not, addressing what they're falling in that trap, like Mondale said. But even more importantly, nobody gives a damn about what they have to say about bipartisanship, because that just got created last week. All of a sudden, they want to be bipartisan as soon as white people stop on the Capitol building. I'm never going to let that one go. That wasn't bipartisan. That was Republicans doing their thing. That was their last great act of selfishness within their party. So if they even mention bipartisanship when coming down to public schools, right? Like, you know what? I got something for you. Let's make bipartisan laws to get lead out of the schools that you're trying to send our kids to. How about that? How about let's make bipartisan laws to make safe streets and safe areas for black and brown kids who you're forcing to go back to school, or mandatory food for these kids who go back to school and for their families, right? Since you're forcing them back in school. But y'all won't be bipartisan about that because that would be too much social welfare. So when a Republican says bipartisan, I think, I can't hear you.
No, seriously. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I agree. The Republicans don't even know how to spell bipartisanship, let alone act in a bipartisan way. So Democrats should 100% reject that notion and should 100% railroad this package through. Like, let's just get it done for $2,000. Alex Trebek is no longer with us, but still, you get the point. We need to go ahead and do it and stop wasting time. Cassidy, talking about teachers union. Let me tell you something. The Republicans will never not seize an opportunity to undermine the public school system. They make villains of teacher unions all the time. And while, as a former teacher and formerly part of a teacher union, while I have my own personal critiques of teacher unions, one thing I tell you, F Republicans when it comes to public schools, when it comes to teachers unions, because all they want to do is redirect taxpayer money from the people to private institutions, parochial schools, private religious institutions. So just be mindful of that in this bipartisanship attempt, that one of the things the Republicans are going to do is the same thing that they always do, which is try to undermine the public's best interest. So forget about Republicans on this one.
Period. And Bernie coming in with how he came in, listen, he is literally taking his, the last years of his life to definitely not give a damn about anything else except for what is important, what is now, what actually counts. And that to me means a lot, where he's talking to folks and saying, I don't have time for this. The real issue is the pandemic. Like, just like Marcus was saying, where was all this bipartisan talk before all this? No, the Republicans ain't about that life. We talking about a whole pandemic that they cared nothing for. The people are what matters. And I love that he definitely brought that. They try to bring out the schools, they try to bring out everything else instead of really hitting what the problem is. And that's what I love about Bernie.
Rebecca, your internet don't like you today.
Ooh. I thought it was just me. Jesus.
I thought it was me too. I don't want the people to think it's all of us. It's really just Rebecca's internet that's screwed up.
My bill is due and I haven't received my funds, man.
We should live in a world.
We should live in a world where the internet. Wake up.
We should live in a world where the internet is free. Oh, we do. It's just not
in
here.
a world where
it's
the
just not
internet
here.
is free.
Yeah.
In Korea,
It's
South
not
Korea, internet is free. So funny since we created it, since the United States created the internet.